The takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot, I leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top. Man, I'm laughing at the fools who think they coming for the spot. You ain't got a fucking shot, it's already mine. You can't ever fucking stop, you know I stay on the grind. Broken bones and black eyes, they just part of the life. Haymaker, MMA, we taking over your mics. No sleeping, bloody knuckles, it's nothing to the hustle. I'll be fighting till I die, every day is still a struggle. I made it out the rubble, my knees ain't never buckle. I came here for a fight, but I'm ready for a rumble. So you gotta feel the chaos we've been leaving behind, cause ain't nothing going down that I didn't design. But it's time to start the show, so extinguish the flame. Haymaker MMA, we going straight for your brain, yeah.
And welcome back to Haymaker MMA. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined by Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson, producer Jay in the background. Fellas, how y'all doing?
It's almost Friday, man. In this Missouri heat, it's already killing me.
Yeah, feeling pretty good. Getting ready for this card on Saturday.
Yeah, man, it seems like forever since we did a show. It's good to be back here talking a little bit of fisticuffs.
It was about a good 2-3 weeks, wasn't it? Since the last one.
Man, that was about a month ago.
A month, yeah.
288.
But we back.
Yeah. Back by popular demand. And we are live on Twitch. And we just launched the YouTube channel. And we've been doing pretty good numbers. So for all the listeners out there that aren't subscribed yet to the YouTube, go check that out and subscribe. And also leave comments, man. We like the feedback. So, drop by and leave a comment. So like we always kick off these shows, we'll go around and talk about some news, either inside or outside of the cage. I'll kick it off. It's been a pretty slow news week thus far, but what I did see is Chris Wiedman coming back to face Brad Tavares in Boston at UFC 292 after shattering his leg at UFC 261 back in April of 2021. Gruesome injury. But I have a 3-part question for you two. First off, should he even be coming back from this gruesome type of injury? Second off, what is Chris Wiedman's legacy as far as MMA goes? And third, what's the most gruesome injury that you ever seen in MMA before?
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. His was top 5, I could say, that's popular amongst MMA fans. That Silva's was pretty nasty, but his broken half and then the broken part like got stood on like a pirate peg when he broke his. But one that makes me in my body cringe and I just wouldn't want happen to me was MVP's knee to Chris Cyborg. Ooh. Not Chris. What's his name?
Our husband when he dented his fucking head.
Caved in. So that one makes me cringe, but I'm pretty worried there's there's a few.
God, I just got goosebumps thinking about that one. God damn.
That's a nasty one. There's other ones out there, but I'll just share my one. That's my significant one.
That one with Cyborg, the male Cyborg and MVP, it sounded like Humpty Dumpty getting his eggshell cracked. And then afterwards, MVP was an asshole. He threw the Pokemon ball.
Yeah, threw the Pokeball at him.
Caught him.
Like he was in some anime cartoon or something.
And then the dance pose after he threw it.
Yeah, he like did the peace.
That ass catch him.
Gotta catch them all.
Well, Chris Wiedman, that's still my boy.
That's the quote of like the century.
Yeah, man. I always liked him, but I don't think he's got much of a legacy. I mean, it's kind of proven that the Anderson Silva, the first one, the knockout, Silva was playing around. it was kind of a fluke. Weidman says he practiced that move and was going to catch him and everything like that. But then if you look at Weidman's record after Silva, he went 3-6, and he was the champion, and then it was a big fall from grace. So I don't think he has much legacy. I don't think he should have returned. I don't think it's safe. Weidman already said he's coming straight out and kicking Brad Tavares right in the shin just to get over his fear of breaking it again. He's going to come out and throw a leg kick.
He said that?
Yeah, he already said that he's going to come out and do it. So
first
I
of
wish
all,
him the best.
Cross our fingers.
Yeah, but first of all, why are you giving away your strategy? The virus is going to come out. He's like, I'm going to check it now. And then, why would you want to test your leg out to that limit and telegraphing it so the dude could check it? What if it shatters again?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it could happen. He could go right out there, throw that kick, and it just shatters all over again. It's a high risk, low reward type situation for him. But yeah, I don't think he should be back. I think he should have just retired. He'd probably be a good coach. He's from up there in, New York. He trained with all the Gracies and everything. So he has a good enough name that he could start a gym and just be a pretty good coach. As far as gruesome injuries, the only one that I can think of that might be up there with the cyborg dented head was UFC, one of the early ones. Marvin Eastman had a cut across his forehead that you could see his skull, and inside it was just a layer of meat flapped open. I mean, it was bad. I don't know, Jay, are we allowed to show gruesome injuries on here?
I think we can.
Pull up. Just Google Marvin Eastman head.
Right, who?
Go ahead,
Marvin
Steve.
Eastman.
That was one of the worst lacerations. I think to this day, one of the worst cuts I ever seen. One that maybe comes close to that is Overeem's lip, but I think there's even one more than that. But this one tops them all to me.
How old is this?
Oh,
this is an old school UFC. I think that's Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, that looks like Vitor Belfort. Oh, you can tell that's old school UFC. Look at the cage mat.
Yeah, I mean, his head just gets split open like unreal.
I think it happened pretty early too. In the fight.
Man, I don't think I've seen this.
I think it's coming up when he gets up.
Yeah, because he'll stand with his back against the cage and his head's just like flapped open.
This is like prime TRT Vitor Belfort for all the listening on podcast form.
Oh, here we go.
Right now, the trainer's putting the towel on his head, soaking up the blood. Vitor celebrating like a madman. Back with his.
Oh, this was the good old days of UFC on Spike.
Oh yeah,
those Spike days. That's when it was real and raw.
Yeah,
before they went all corporate.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's bad.
Oh my God, that's fucked, dude.
You could almost see his brain, but it was not watching.
Yeah, that's no good. I think the only other injury, it looked horrible, but it wasn't even bad, was when Aldo fought somebody in that hematoma on his head and made him look like a freaking alien. I can't remember that kid's name.
While you're looking up that kind of reminds me of when Joanna fought Wei Lee. Remember how she looked like an alien afterwards?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. She looked really bad after that. Who was that? Mark Hominick. Jay, can you look up Mark Hominick head? Hominick. And he said this didn't hurt at all. It just was all looks, like it just filled full of blood so quick.
You would figure they would stop that fight based off of fluid or pressure against the brain, but I guess that's not a significant one to stop. I guess it depends on a specific area.
Can you do Google Images? Okay,
You want
that's
video
where
or
it
me?
actually happened.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, this one, it reminds me of almost of Koscheck's eye situation.
Mm.
Look at
Ooh, he looks
Oh
like
yeah, that's
a
bad.
what is it, Sloth from Goonies?
that. Yeah. And I think that was when Aldo caught him with that elbow.
Look at Joanna. He's got the picture of Joanna up. They both look like.
Jeez.
Ooh, who's that dude?
I don't know.
The
Oh
black
my
guy right
God.
there.
I think he's a boxer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
That's pretty
he's a
bad
boxer.
too.
Damn.
But
Yeah.
as far as injuries go, y'all two already talked about it. But I think that Anderson Silva one has to take the cake. When he fought Chris Weidman, you know, the irony that Weidman broke his leg. That is it like a compound fracture? Is what they call it? I think the same thing that Joe Theismann had with the Commanders now.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't come back from that.
If
Yeah,
you
it's
actually
just-
think about it, every person that had a leg injury never significantly used that leg again. Silva didn't use it. It seemed like Aldo must have did some small injury to it to where he stopped kicking. His kicking game stopped at the end of his career. If you didn't even notice, yeah, a lot of people. I don't see him using that leg like he said he's going to.
Yeah, man. It's got to be some like sports psychology that goes into that when you're kind of bounce back from that too. So you probably got, you're seeing ghosts, as they say, and kind of afraid to use that leg like you were. Even if you aren't, it's probably still in the back of your mind, like, oh, what if this happens again?
I would almost think that they would train a lot more with the opposite leg. That way they can still throw that one, and an orthodox fighter throwing that left leg kick is not, very heard of. If they become a power kicker and have the element of surprise, that's what I would do if I, broke my real kicking leg.
You think Silva's was worse than Weidman's? I think
Yeah.
Weidman was the way he landed on
Oh!
after it broke.
That was bad too. For
Nasty.
all
But
the
they're
pro
both
wrestling fans when Sid Vicious jumped off the top rope and
Oh,
leg.
dude.
I
his
remember
leg-
that.
Yeah,
Hey, did he have those long boots that go all the way up his thighs?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
on there now.
Imagine taking those off. Ugh.
yeah,
Ugh.
his legs just look like linguine after that. It's bad.
So, my little claim to fame is I used to interact a lot with Bleacher Report, the MMA section on there, and
Mhm.
Jonathan Snowden. I think that's his name, Jonathan Snowden. Yeah, he posted on Twitter, give us your hot takes for Weidman Silva 2. And I said Chris Weidman will beat Anderson Silva again, but this time it'll be a lot quicker. And then that happened. I didn't predict the injury, but I predicted that Weidman would win quicker.
A prediction is a prediction, and it was
Yeah,
quick.
he took it from Twitter and he posted it on Bleacher Report. So that's my little claim to fame.
Yeah, so I think Chris Weidman has a weird legacy because after that second fight happened, I'm like, oh, he beat him twice, even though both of them were kind of fluky. So I was like wishing for him to be the next, great one to have a run. So I'm like, yeah, it's Chris Weidman. Like I built him up in my head to be like a great. And then I think he defended it once. He defended it against
Machida?
Machida.
He defended against Vitor Belfort and he beat him, but then he defended against Luke Rockhold and Rockhold beat the shit out of him.
I want to say he had a Machida defense, so he might have defended it twice. I think he had a Machida defense in there. Or
He did. He did. I forgot that he did fight Machida. It was like
I think it was that 4th of July weekend.
It was the 4th of July card back in 2014.
Yeah, because I remember I was still living in Jacksonville and I think I was doing summer classes and we're like, let's take a break and watch this because I had a friend. I think he went to the same college as Chris Weidman, even though they were like 5 years apart, but he's a Weidman fan. And like he was hyping him up, and then it was like a very underwhelming type performance because Weidman just coasted. Like, you should be finishing somebody like Machida at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's like one of the only decisions like in his last 15 fights.
And then, like you talked about, the fight between him and Rockhold, knocked out cold.
And then
Yeah.
the next fight was against fucking Yoel Romero,
Oof.
where he sent his head into the second row.
He got sent into the shadow rim during that fight.
But that's still my boy.
That's still his boy.
Did he, since his last injury, did he have that neck injury after or before the leg break?
That's a good
I thought
question.
he's always had something kind of going on with his neck.
Because I knew he had surgery on his neck. I just can't pinpoint if that's after and then he broke his leg and then got neck surgery, or he had neck surgery and then broke his leg. Because I think he was he absent before the leg break for a long time?
He's always been like injury riddled, even when he was the champion. Because I want to say it was a lot of time period every time he defended it. I think it was the neck. It was definitely the neck before the leg.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's had that neck thing going on for a while. Then he went on, he lost to Gegard Mousasi, who's one of my favorite fighters, but not the best. He did beat Kelvin Gastelum. That's when Kelvin went up to middleweight for the first time and tried it. Kelvin looked way undersized in that fight. And then Weidman lost to Jacare Souza. He lost to one of my favorites, Dominic Reyes, and his only win in like the last, I want to say like 10 years almost, is Amari Akhmedov.
Mm.
Is that right? Yeah, Akhmedov.
Yeah, he's kind of fell off.
Yeah, I don't even know why he came back at this point, but everybody loves a comeback story, so hopefully he does well against Barrett Tavares. Tavares is a vet as well, so they didn't throw him into the deep end with like a young up and coming lion.
Mm.
Man, okay. So Weidman's last loss was that leg injury to Uriah Hall. Can we talk about Uriah Hall for a second?
What about Uriah?
He had so much promise coming into the UFC. He had that spinning back kick knockout when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, and he did good all through the season. And then he lost to Kelvin Gastelum in the end. And then it seems like Uriah Hall, every other fight was good. Like he would try, but then every other fight, it seemed like he was uninterested, didn't train, just didn't look all there. And a lot of people thought it was because he was afraid to hurt people because he had that, knockout kick that looked like he killed the guy. But I just feel like Uriah Hall had such big promise coming into the UFC, and all sizzle, no steak.
Yeah. What I think about Uriah is some people, they get in that cage when it's time to fight and they forget to wake up their subconscious mind to this is not sparring. So by the time like round 3, it can be conscious, but you flow through your body in that cage to where before you know it, they're animating a fight, and before you know it, they lost it. So that's what I think about that. He had that mentality to just either point fight or just keep up with the fight, just in sparring mode.
You're right. Now that you say that makes sense. He did seem like he was sparring in a lot of his fights that he just went on to lose. And it was like he was coasting. And I don't know. He just couldn't pull the trigger ever.
Paulo Costa forced him to fight, although he lost it. Those were one of the fights where he was forced to. You had a big animal like Paulo Costa throwing them bombs. And he was staying in there with him, but he got caught. But other than no other fights and those losses, even Gegard Mousasi told him that that spinning back kick knockout was lucky, and he did redeem that win back. So like you said, he turned pro and just didn't pull that trigger.
You know what? I think Uriah Hall is one of those guys who's a mixed martial artist in the true sense. He does it for the art of it. He's like a mild-mannered guy. I think
Yeah, for
sometimes
sure.
you got to have those guys that are kind of crazy in the head that are just like pieces of shit behind the scenes. And I think Uriah, I think Uriah is just maybe too nice of a guy because he has all the skills. He looks like $1,000,000, but it never translated to like long win streak. And like he was in the Ultimate Fighter and like he showcased that crazy kick, but it didn't translate when he stepped the level up to higher competition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too bad. I mean, if he could pull the trigger, he would be dangerous, man.
like you said, not saying that he hasn't went through adversity through his life, but it takes a certain type of ingredients. For example, like John Jones, he's like would think, let me hang him and then drop him, or let me
Yeah,
try to jam my elbow in his nose, kind of demented
yeah,
thinking.
he's got a screw loose.
Uriah doesn't have that.
Yeah, like you said, a little bit of demented type of mentality. He's John Jones guy has a screw loose.
Oh yeah, you can tell how he fights.
Yep.
Yeah, so like we were talking about Wiedman, we'd have to see what happens with him. But what you got for us, Admire, as far as stories go?
The big story, it's been on every big outlet and just at first it started as rumors, but Dana White is trying to get Tyson Fury over to the UFC to do a fight with John Jones. It's not going to happen. I don't know why everybody keeps retweeting it, posting the stories. Tyson Fury's a boxer. His bread and butter is standing up and boxing. John Jones would have him on the ground within 5 seconds and pound him out, just like Randy Couture, James Toney went down. I don't know why. It's still like this big news. Like if you Googled UFC news, I guarantee you that's going to be one of the first things. It all started with Joe Rogan saying that John Jones would beat Tyson Fury, and it wouldn't even be close. Tyson Fury made a video coming back at Joe Rogan, and everybody just talking back and forth. John Jones tweeting it, and Dana White, has said, I'm open to it. But, Dana White's the same guy that says he doesn't do circus fights anymore and all that, but he's not going to turn down that paycheck if it was to happen. I think it's stupid that neither side will ever say, we'll do one fight in boxing, we'll do one fight in MMA. That's only fair. You do it at each person's game. It's probably going to be 1-1. It should be 1-1, but it's always one-sided. Floyd wanted McGregor to come over to boxing, wouldn't get in the octagon. Randy Couture would only fight James Toney in the octagon. They only want their, home ring advantage. So it's a dumb conversation, but it's big news.
Like I said, matchups make fights, first of all. But if somebody's already a fighter and crossover fighting from different disciplines, MMA and boxing, I would say boxing is the less, as far as you'll have a chance as far as entertainment wise through rounds, versus a boxer going to MMA. And if they're serious about it, there's no chance. There's no chance a boxer versus an MMA fighter that knows some type of, handwork can survive. But it's not lucrative for the boxer to go to MMA is basically what I'm saying, because it's just the chances of that is so. I really wouldn't be entertained because of that. We're gonna, like you said, we're gonna see another James Toney, to where think about it. Would Tyson Fury and John Jones be more entertaining in MMA, or seeing John Jones boxing Tyson Fury in boxing? And I would
Right.
have to, just to see, for a chance to just see some entertainment and, knowing John Jones can punch somebody, I would like to see the boxing. So it's just not fair. Like you said, it has to be one and then the other, or not at all.
I just looked it up. Dana White can't afford Tyson Fury. I mean, I just looked at it. He pulls $30 million a fight in his purse. So I think the highest paid UFC fighter ever, just contract like 2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't release the numbers of what they make off of pay-per-view points, because I think Connor's base salary may be like that, 2 million, but then he gets a lot on that back end and it puts it up to like in the teens at the very least.
But if Tyson Fury did come over here for a fight to the UFC, you're going to get new viewers. You're going to have more people buying a pay-per-view than ever before. So he might be able to make up the money there. He's not going to do it. He's not going to risk his undefeated record to come over here and get beat in a game that he don't play. It wouldn't go on his boxing record, but it's still a loss. He can retire now and say he never lost. I don't think he would fight John Jones if John Jones went to boxing. I'll say that. That's my bold statement. Tyson Fury wouldn't even do it in a boxing ring.
I think he would if the money was there, but yeah, you never know. It's all about perception and what they put out there to make you believe. You may be right. He might not even do it if John Jones was willing to go to boxing. But do you think if Fury lost in MMA, that would put kind of a black eye on his career overall? Because let me say this: Clarissa Shields, she's probably one of the most popular women's boxers. She came over to MMA. She won one and lost one. And I feel like she's still regarded as one of the GOATs in boxing. I don't think that really damaged her like that.
It wouldn't hurt him because he's going to play a different game. It's, if a football player went to baseball and lost a baseball game, nobody's going to hold it against him. I think what would happen is I think they should do it. I think Dana White should entertain some kind of high level cross promotion MMA versus boxer again, because when Randy Couture fought James Toney, a lot of boxing fans switched to the MMA side after that, and they could probably use that again and just get another rush of all new fans.
Definitely.
Steve, what do you think? Would that damage Fury's rep if he lost?
He'll be butthurt for about a month or two, but as far as the overall legacy, people forget about that in a year. And like I said, he will probably get into another boxing match because he's not retired. And when as long as he probably goes out on a win in boxing, after that MMA loss, it wouldn't hurt him. And even if he did lose, I don't think it would hurt him that much just for like a month or two.
I don't know. Kind of depends on, how John Jones would beat him. John Jones would probably torture him, like just beat him within an inch of getting the stoppage, but then stop and just start all over again, or just put him in some kind of position and make him look stupid.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Here's a question I have. This is a question that always gets thrown out. Who would win in a straight up street fight? Because everybody always defaults to the MMA guy because they can wrestle, but street fight, no rules. Who you think would win between like a Jones and a Fury? Like
John Jones.
you could do anything.
What do you call it?
Eye gouge.
What do you call it? Latoy, where they use the top of their head. You know what I'm saying? As a jab, I can see John Jones doing all that. Sick fighting, I call it.
Yeah. I mean, I could see John Jones just snapping and grabbing a fucking pipe and beating him or something. Just any means necessary.
Knees to the nuts. I can honestly see him doing that. He throws him pretty good to the gut.
Eye poke. He gets a hand out there.
I mean, there's no damn rules.
Yeah, by any means necessary. But yeah, I think they throw these stories out. You said Dana White threw it out, Admire?
Dana White has, made the offer.
I think they throw them out just for clicks because they know the logistics behind it, that it's never going to happen. And like you said, it's two different sports. I mean, you have elements of boxing and MMA, but that's only not one small element, but that's only one of several disciplines that you have. So it's two different sports. So whoever comes in each other's separate sport is gonna lose.
We're gonna have to compare the stats of what was already done so we can in retrospect see. So Connor was able to do it. We have to see how many views that put in or how many eyes are on Connor just to see if this is perceivable as far as this Tyson Fury and John Jones. If it's John's not pulling in what Connor can, I don't think it can be worth it. Because obviously Connor did it because he was worth it as far as Dana.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, for the actual X's and O's of the fight, Connor looked more respectable than James Toney did, even though Floyd Mayweather was clearly carrying him for those first few rounds and
that's what I was saying earlier to the MMA person has a better chance of not looking like a fool and getting money versus going to MMA and totally getting demolished and dehumanized as a boxer coming into MMA.
So
Exactly.
what do y'all think has a better chance, Jones versus Fury or Francis Ngannou versus Fury?
I'm going to say Jones versus Fury just because Dana White is actually friends with Tyson Fury. Like behind the scenes, they're actually friends. There's no way PFL can pay Tyson Fury that much. I don't care. Pay-per-view wise, gate, there's no way.
How about in the boxing realm, Ngannou versus Fury though?
You saying who would
What
win?
happened?
No, what will be more likely to happen?
Oh, man, it's hard to say. I would say the John Jones is more likely than PFL as far as Dana
I don't know, man.
Association.
I kind of, but I think personally, man, I think I'd want to see Ngannou personally.
Yeah, I think Dana has a personal foot before in boxing in relationships, if I'm not mistaken, and I
Yeah,
think
he
his
does.
son is even boxing.
Yeah.
I think Dana would have more pull as far as relationships. Of obviously he got that Connor thing going, and also the one of the greatest of our time, Mayweather. He's actually cool with Mayweather, or reconciled their differences.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, I think you'd have a better chance, of course, of seeing Fury. If he would do MMA, it would be in the UFC. But as far as chances of seeing the actual matchup, I think the most likely thing that would happen is Fury versus Ngannou in a boxing ring because Ngannou's allowed to box with his PFL contract.
Yeah, that's right. That's probably most likely.
Yeah.
I think that's the more entertaining fight. I mean, in the octagon, Jones is going to take Fury down. In the ring, I think Ngannou can hang for 3-4 rounds at least. I don't think he'll win. I mean, if you think about it, Francis Ngannou is a less skilled Deontay Wilder.
Yeah. But for the fun factor of it, it's like Ngannou, Anthony Joshua is a big dude, but Anthony Joshua's been losing. So, you know what? And I know boxing fan, this is, this is not right. It's boxing. You can put Joshua to the side. I'll watch Francis, and I think he's a little bit more muscular and more has more muscle reflex tendons in his arm as far as how he strikes. So I think it would be a threat to Tyson more than Anthony Joshua. I like to see a little chaos where you might as well Francis in there, give him the strike like a madman.
Yeah. Actually, this is a good segue because last time me and Admire were here talking, it was the day before it officially got announced. But Ngannou, we haven't talked since Ngannou finally officially announced that he was signing the PFL. I didn't get to hear y'all's thoughts on the overall deal. How do y'all feel about the deal that he signed?
Well, what I think he is doing is being a poster boy, a pioneer into a new age of payment for fighters that's maybe peaking within the next 3 to 5 years, and maybe he's trying to start a movement. Because like he said, I think his opponent is confirmed $1 million off top, whoever he fights.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's doing poster boy work and also looking out for himself, two birds with one stone sort of way.
Yeah, definitely agree on that. He got everything he wanted out of it. I mean, he got paid. He got the ability to go and box if he wants to. That was a lot of the issue when, a lot of the UFC fighters wanted to go try boxing is they were tied into a contract and couldn't. So he got that. And like Steve mentioned, he did a lot for other fighters. If you're his opponent, you automatically get this much. I think there's even a clause that the lowest paid fighter on one of his fight cards is like, it has to be 200 grand or something. Like, he set everybody up that's going to fight around him. I don't know that he got more than what he would have from the UFC, but he got what he wanted more personally.
So I don't agree with Dana White a lot, but to play devil's advocate, it makes a lot of sense for Francis Ngannou, but how does this make sense for the PFL? If he's not going to fight until maybe 2024 and they're paying all his money, like, how does that make sense for them?
It doesn't. He'll be forgotten by then. He hasn't fought the UFC in how long, and it's going to be this long before he fights again. I mean, they're going to have to promote the shit out of it to get his name back in, circulation.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, and it's probably might be a correct comparison, but maybe close to it. I'm an MMA fan, so I watch all of it, but I can imagine somebody who's not totally into everybody going to each what do you call it, promotion. It's sort of like when Anthony Johnson got out the UFC, and then you kind of had to look hard for his next fights, if that made sense. He was on top of the world and a contender, and then his next fight he ended up winning, but it was hard to catch that fight if you weren't looking for it, if you're not an MMA fan. So I hope he doesn't end up like that.
Yeah, and I think it's weird too, as I was scrolling through ESPN Plus earlier, PFL's on ESPN, and so is UFC. So that's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's any behind the scene relationship.
I don't think there is. You think it's kind of a conflict of interest?
It could be, or maybe UFC's moving out of ESPN and going to ABC or something. I don't know. It's weird that they got two, top 3 of the MMA promotions.
And ABC, ESPN, Disney owns ABC and ESPN, so I don't know how much they have longer on that deal. I'm sure they're going to be shopping those rights around. You got NBC out there with Peacock. You got Fox out there. I don't know if they would go back to Fox, but and the streaming world, I'm sure Apple or somebody might try to put their hat in the ring to try to get those rights.
Man, could you imagine that if Apple bought the exclusive? Man, that would like send their stocks through the roof, because everybody would have to get Apple TV. You're going to get a lot of people to convert to iPhone and iPad.
That'd be a headache. Ted Lasso's over there killing it. They're up on the rise as far as their entertainment goes. So, I mean, it's a possibility.
Yeah, but so is Peacock, man. Seems like Peacock's just blowing up with all the goods.
That would make sense. Their sister company, WWE, is with Peacock already. So that'd be a natural fit for them.
Yeah, I forgot about that and the whole merge and everything.
Yeah, definitely interesting. But I'm glad that Ngannou got his money, man. I mean, let's hope he doesn't bankrupt the PFL, because I don't know. They haven't been around. I mean, they were the World Series of Fighting, but I don't know how their finances look. Hopefully they were able to pay all these fighters that money as far as that deal goes.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to put some money to Francis up front.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And then he's also supposed to be like some type of ambassador. Like he's supposed to have some type of position with the company too.
Yeah, that's another thing he did. He wanted in his contract that he got some kind of position at the company. I got a feeling there's been this talk for years about like a fighters union, and I got a feeling that that's what he's going for. Is he's going to try to lead a whole union of fighters so they could all fight for getting paid and all that.
I think Dana White's dead body that that we would see that happen.
Yeah,
'Cause he doesn't
Dana
wanna pay
White don't
these
want it
guys.
to happen.
It would have happened by now. Even if it was like start off as a small union, you think it would have already formed by now, but somebody's got to be blocking it for it to not have happened by now.
And you know that's one reason I respect the Paul brothers, because that's one thing that they do push when they're promoting themselves when they have a fight coming up is they talk about a fighters union and the discrepancy between a UFC fighter's pay and a boxer's pay. Like it's insane. You know, UFC got the Reebok deal and they changed their whole pay structure around since they don't get sponsors, they get paid by how many years they've been in the UFC and stuff like that. It's still not a lot. You still have prelim guys that don't make more than 30 grand who just spent 6 months training and still have to pay out their coaches, pay out their travel and all that. So I think a fighters union would be good. I don't think Dana White will let it happen, but you know, shout out to the Paul brothers for trying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe Dana is directly a board member stopping it. I honestly believe that.
I mean, they just came out with reports that this past year, they made like record numbers, and the fighters got paid even less, which is crazy to think about. They got paid less than 2021 than they did in 2022. It went from like 15% of the revenue was going to the fighters to like 13%, which is insane.
Yeah. And like, if you think other people that are in the UFC world, Joe Rogan, Bruce Buffer, all them, they all make 100 grand a fight. And there's fighters that don't make that. You know, that doesn't make sense. Bruce Buffer works a total of maybe 10 minutes a night between all the announcements, and he makes like 100 grand every fight.
Yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
guess since it's UFC, I think is under an entertainment license rather than a sport. I guess the commentators, you know, comes with the entertainment just as much as the fighters, and I guess they think the commentators are more important.
I always wish I wish Jimmy Smith Jr. from the old Strikeforce and Bellator commentating would have went to the UFC. I think he did go to the UFC for like a couple fights and they got rid of him. But I always liked the guy.
He was there for a year. He was there for all of 2018 and they didn't renew him. And he was over there at the WWE for a year and they didn't renew him after a year. I don't know why I like him. Like, I don't know why he doesn't stick at these big companies.
He was great, man. He knew his shit. I wonder what he's up to these days.
He's got a Sirius XM show, but I don't know if he's doing anything as far as like live entertainment. But I like them. Everybody used to call him the Wish version of Joe Rogan, just because he was bald.
Who are y'all talking about again?
Jimmy Smith. He was He was the commentator for Bellator for a while. He was the color commentary. He was the play-by-play.
What do y'all think about, speaking of commentators, who was before John Anik?
Mike Goldberg.
I love
Goldie
Mike
Goldberg, was awesome.
Man. Yeah, he was cool. He would mess up sometimes, but it was cool. I think he was talking one time. He says, so and so's corner, speech in Portuguese, and then Joe Rogan said, they're speaking Japanese. He said, oh, and Joe Rogan's like, you should know that your wife's Japanese. He's like, I should, Joe. So he would have moments like that all the time, man.
Yeah, I don't know why they got rid of him. He was so good. He knew a lot about the fighters. He wasn't like real technical like Joe Rogan, but he was just great on the air. And I remember when they got rid of him and brought in John Anik. John Anik didn't know shit about MMA for like the first few months. Like you could tell that he was cramming for the big test.
Mike Goldberg, it is all over.
Yeah.
He had his catchphrases.
Yeah.
You know, he just has that distinct voice, like that distinct announcer commentator voice.
Mm.
And he was over at Bellator for a while, but they didn't renew him. They got rid of him in 2021. But I kind of miss him, man. Maybe it's the nostalgia. Maybe he wasn't as good as, you know, how we have him in our
Man, put
memories.
him and Jimmy Smith together. Let them run a show. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised PFL hasn't gotten on that.
Mm.
Yeah,
They might want too much. I mean, they've been to the big show. PFL might not be able to afford them. Like you said, though, I don't know PFL's background and finances, but it just seems to me like they don't have that much money.
yeah. I mean, I like Anik is decent. I don't mind him, but I don't know. He just doesn't have that voice like Mike Goldberg had, man.
No, he doesn't.
He's fine. He doesn't like mess up. I mean, I think that was kind of charming with Mike Goldberg because he would mess up. Shows that he's human.
Yeah.
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 Well, he said something. He was like something with the leg kick. He said something with he kicks him with the leg kick or something like that.
Yeah, something's that I know exactly what you're talking about. And I can't put my finger on it. He said
It was redundant.
high
though.
kick to the leg or some shit.
Yeah, it was pretty redundant.
Yeah,
It was whatever he said. It was redundant. Yeah, gotta love him though. But yeah. What story you got for us, Steve?
Well, let's see. Well, I was not taken, but like I said, I'll bring up what you text me over the phone this last fight night. Joaquin Buckley having a Booker T moment after his win. It was hilarious to me. He basically said in his what he had to say, he said the N-word and then accidentally said, "Oh, my bad," like Booker T and what was that, the 90s?
Yeah.
Start doing his promo, and then he said the N-word and he closed his mouth.
I'm gonna send this to you, Jay. Maybe you could put it up real quickly. And you got it now. Yeah. Slips on TV, you know, those are always funny when people don't realize they're on live TV and they have bloopers like that.
And yeah, he was excited, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I guess he couldn't conduct himself at that moment because I think he was having two losses before that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can imagine he was happy, you know, and he celebrated like he would at the gym and forgot he was on TV.
So Jay has it pulled up now.
TKO Joaquin Numento.
What's good, nigga? Oh, my son.
I'm here with the winner.
Hey, keep on rolling it for a second, Jay.
Buckley.
He like apologized to Disney.
He felt bad about that one.
Listen.
Loading up some.
Joaquin, get over it, bud. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Listen. TKO.
Yeah, he was like,
He says it
my
twice.
bad. I said the N-word on TV. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you're elated after a victory, anything comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
What's like some of the most outrageous post-fight interviews that y'all can remember off the top of your head?
Anything a Diaz brother does, like even back in the Strikeforce days when the Diaz camp jumped fucking Mayhem Miller when he came in the ring. That was crazy. You know, Nick Diaz, after one of his fights, where the fuck you at, George, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Nate Diaz, I ain't surprised, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Diaz brothers got the classics.
That bullshit fiasco with Brock Lesnar and Cormier. After Lesnar had his little speech, he's like, "I'm coming for you, motherfucker," and he threw the mic in the camera. That was hilarious to me. There's a few of them out there. Oh yeah, and one that always makes me laugh is the Cejudo. When Cejudo does
Yeah.
that shit
He's
cracks
like,
me up.
one thing I'm surprised one of y'all didn't bring up is the king of the sound bite after fights Black Beast, Derek Lewis.
Oh,
Yeah.
balls is hot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ronda
Yeah,
Rousey,
when he said his balls were hot, that was fucking awesome.
he's like, Ronda
And then,
Rousey, where your fine ass at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
Hey,
I don't
Brock
like
Le-
your husband. He beats up women.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that.
Brock Lesnar had a good one. He said he was going to go home and drink a Coors Light because Bud Light don't pay him, and he's going to get on his wife.
He's saying he's like, drink me a Coors and hell, I might even get on top of my wife tonight. Yeah, I remember that.
And then right after that, at the post-fight presser, he had to do an apology and said, and he was drinking a Bud Light. He's like, I just drink whatever, you guys pay me.
Derek Lewis and something Sakai. Somebody, if y'all know who Sakai is in heavyweight, he got beat by somebody not too long ago. But if you noticed his stomach, well, I'll say what Derek Lewis said. His belly button area, it looks funny. So Derek Lewis in his post, he's like, "Yeah, man, I just had a straight punch straight through that booty hole on his stomach."
I remember that.
His belly button looks hella weird,
Yeah, it was like folded. It's like folded at the top of it. I know you.
So Derek Lewis, hella funny. You said his name. That reminded me of that.
What about the awkward one with GSP? I am not impressed with your performance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's back before he was real good at English, and he said, "I am not impressed with your performance," and everybody was like, "What?"
It was like halfway he was trying to be aggressive, but he was too nice.
He reminded me of Sacha Baron Cohen and Ricky Bobby Talladega.
Yeah,
that's a perfect comparison.
What about what's the guy's name? Oh man, I'm having a blank. I know most recently though. The only time where Kobe Covington wasn't cringe, where it was like when he first started his bad boy persona, and he went to Brazil and called it a dump.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That was very bold with that type of crowd.
He's lucky he didn't get murdered.
Well, he knew he'd be safe. If anybody was going to get murdered in Brazil, it would have been Chael Sonnen, and he made it out alive.
Oh, that's what I was about to talk about. What about Anderson Silva? You absolutely suck.
Yeah,
dude, Chael Sonnen was so good on the mic, man. Like everybody's biting his shit. That's where McGregor got his shit from. Chael Sonnen was the original shit talker and talked his way into so many fights just being that guy.
Speaking of Chael Sonnen, I always talk about this with EJ. Paul, have y'all seen the conference with Paul Daly and Chael Sonnen?
Mm-mm.
Or Tito Ortiz and Chael
Oh,
Sonnen?
Yeah.
He was like, it's all you do is just run your mouth to get fights. He's like, Tito, the only person that's ran your mouth to get fights is or to run your mouth to get money is your ex-wife. Because he went out with Jenna Jameson. So everybody's like, ooh, he's like, for your information, we were never married, which is irrelevant because the relevant thing, she was a porn star, and he was like, dude, you fucking punk, because he realized he got, and everybody in the damn room was giggling. It's like, that was a nasty line by me. I like Chael Sonnen.
Chael Sonnen is what Kobe Covington is trying to be, but can't pull it off. Yeah.
Kobe has some then from here and there. Like he said about Woodley, he had a song, "I'll Beat Your Ass." He put out,
I remember that.
And he calls Chimaev, Chimaev Kamshot instead of Kosmat. So he has a few lines that makes me laugh. But sometimes he drops the ball.
He tries too hard.
Yeah.
He's not a good talker like Chael was. Like Colby will stutter or break his line. He's not as good.
Yeah. He'll be quick sometimes, like with the Michael Bisping. He was like, I don't think you're seeing straight. He was like, well, Bisping, the only thing I don't think you're seeing straight was that one eye you got. So he'll say some slick things.
He'll
That's funny.
He'll slip up and say something slick. I don't think he even does it on purpose.
Yeah, he does it on accident.
He does it on accident. This wasn't a post fight, but this was like a conference they were doing. What about when Tito and Ken Shamrock? And Shamrock was like,
That's what I was going to say.
It's like, I'm gonna beat the ever living something out of you.
No, he said, he said, I'm gonna beat you into a living death.
Yeah.
Tito just
and I think he giggled.
Yeah.
And then he kicked the chair up.
Yeah.
He got pissed.
Tito laughed at him. And then
that was a good one.
But Tito can't laugh because he says some dumb shit all through his career. Yeah, he has a whole compilation of stuff he said.
Yeah, Tito wasn't the brightest.
He beat Shamrock 3 times though.
Lost to Chuck like 3 times too.
No, he beat him that 3rd fight, which was trash. Can't believe I wasted money on that. It wasn't in the UFC.
That wasn't in the UFC though, was it?
It was like in some BS. It was like, I think it was Golden Boy MMA. It was the first and last event they ever had.
Yeah, I think I didn't even watch that one.
Man, it was terrible.
Yeah, I think that's where Oscar didn't even know the fighters.
No,
he was promoting them or the names.
Yeah, that was trash. It was so sad to see Chuck Liddell come back in that state. I think he needed the money.
He was never right after Rampage starched him, dude. And then, there was a few after the Rampage fight. One of my favorite knockouts is Rashad Evans knocking out Chuck Liddell. I mean, he pulled back and just swung that with everything he had, and I thought he killed him.
Yeah. He threw them damn I think it was a right hook, but he threw that 2-punch combination backed up with perfect torque. And you can just tell that you can kind of see his neck go out of proportion when he got hit. So, like I said, I thought the same thing. I thought he killed him because he didn't get up for a while after that.
He was out for a minute.
Yeah, like, once that button gets pressed, your chin is just gone forever, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's some fighters that don't have a button, though. Like Diego Sanchez, it takes a lot to knock that dude out. I think, Joe Lozon probably did the best knockout on Diego Sanchez, but he's been in some wars, and it was like, you can't knock that dude out. Or like Justin Gaethje. Dude can just take a punch.
And quite honestly, I think Ferguson would have that, but that's just like saying the strongest chin, hey, come take this metal bat. I mean, that was a straight up full force up kick upward. I mean, the strongest chins are going to get knocked out from that. But I think that knockout, though, it deteriorated his chin to not take anything like the Gaethje fight.
Yeah, the Tony Ferguson, he ain't been the same since that.
Yeah, I think we even talked about his DUI situation, or
we
I don't know if we talked about that since. Yeah.
Like you said, but some fighters stay with the granite chin for their careers, but once a fighter does get knocked out, it seems like they keep getting knocked out after that. Like,
but like, look at Nate Diaz. I think Nate Diaz has only been knocked out twice, and it's been by the same guy, Josh Thompson. I know Josh Thompson did a head kick on him and knocked him out, but Diaz, he fucking walks through anything and takes punishment. Even the Masvidal fight, they stopped it because of the cut. It wasn't because he was getting his ass whooped. Like, you can't knock Diaz out.
Yeah, Masvidal got close with that head kick in the first round, but like you said, he still finished that fight until they stopped it. So he's one up there. He's Mount Rushmore of chins.
I may be wrong, but Dan Henderson, did he ever get viciously knocked out? I remember he got choked out by Silva, but
Yeah, over in Pride, Vanderlei Silva knocked Dan Henderson out, I think, once, knocked him out of the ring. Or maybe I might have it backwards. I think Dan Henderson might have knocked him out. Maybe not. Let me pull up Dan Henderson's record here.
but I know
Let's
towards
take
the
a
end of his
look.
career, he went out on a possible win. People thought he won that fight against Bisping, but so he didn't end his
He
career,
did.
like, sadly.
Let's see. Man, that really was his last fight. Dan Henderson said, I'm retiring for good. Dan Henderson got knocked out by Vitor Belfort via head kick.
Oh yeah, I think I actually
Gegard
remember.
Mousasi beat him by TKO. Vitor Belfort beat him again by TKO. How come I don't remember many of those?
We watched so many fights; they all kind of blur together after a while.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's for anybody listening. We're just fans, so sometimes we might mispronounce names. Sometimes we forget people's records. That's what happens with average people. We're not these media guys in a studio getting this information fed to us.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And as far as MMA not popular as far as like the other basketball sports, it's not as common knowledge as everybody knowing basketball, football stats. But this is a span of over 20 years of fights in our heads. It's just bound to roll
Yeah.
over. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good transition because here at Haymaker MMA, we don't fake the funk hair. This is a podcast not by professional analysts, and we're fans at the end of the day. We got UFC 289 coming up this weekend. And to be honest, this could have been a fight night. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to act like I know all the fighters on these cards. What is y'all excitement about this card this weekend?
I mean, I always get excited for Amanda Nunes. I know that there will be some kind of violence in one of her fights. Other than that, there's not a lot of even ranked people on this fight card. The co-main is Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. I mean, that's a great fight. They're both very highly ranked. But then when you go below that, a lot of these guys I've maybe seen fight on prelims before, but there's nobody that really sticks out and says, man, I got to see that fight.
Yeah.
Steve?
Because I'm a UFC fan, I can identify certain fighters, but as far as getting eyes on the prize, I should say, we know what Eric Anders, but does somebody going in watching know what Eric Anders? I don't think so. I know this Nate Landwehr guy. He's getting popular. He's got that country accent. Almost Mike Perry-ish swag. But is he known? No. Dan Ige had an impressive win over Yanez, right? And he's number 13, like you said, not even ranked top 10. Mike Mallet. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going ahead, but this is, I don't see anything. It's my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I do know Chris Curtis is on the card,
Yeah.
and he reminded me, I don't know if it's his name or what. I just thought of him as like a middleweight Curtis Blades. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I would say we've been seeing him lately, and I think he even scored a fight night, didn't he? He fought Buckley, or what? He fought Buckley, and then he lost his last one. He was rising up there. I think he could have been on the main card, but I guess he's a good fight for prelims, but nothing exciting I see until you get to the main card.
So let's get into it from the bottom to the top. So on the early prelims, we got Diana Belbita versus Maria Oliveira. You got David Dvorak versus Steven Urseg. That's on the early prelims. Got Kyle Nelson versus Blake Builder. We got Amen Zahabi versus Archie Lang. We got Miranda Maverick versus Yasmin Yazavicius. And we got Nazruddin Imavov versus Chris Curtis. Any of these fights stand out for you? I know you talked about Chris Curtis, Admire. Are you interested in that fight?
Yeah, that's, on the prelims, that's why it's headlined the prelims. That's the fight to watch probably. Chris Curtis, I think his last fight, I think he fought Kelvin Gastelum and lost. Ivanov or whatever his name is ranked number 12. So they're closely ranked. It should be good. But yeah, as fight fans, the cards that you least expect to blow up sometimes have, some of the best finishes or best knockouts. So you can't really ever sleep on it, but this one just doesn't have the drawing power to get a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah.
Did these fights stand out for you, Steve, on the prelims?
One I did forget that I see just because what made him famous was Rory McDonald was Faraz Zahabi.
Mhm.
Is his brother Ayman Zahabi's fighting. And I think he won his last one, but I think his one before that, he had a loss to where he got a dude to the cage and thought he was winning. And dude came with a spinning elbow, John Jones style, and knocked him out cold. Like I say, I'm a MMA fan, so I know he's one of the biggest coaches, Camp's brother. So
Yeah, I didn't know that was Faraz Zahabi's brother. Yeah, that's GSP, Rory McDonald, like that whole Canadian TriStar camp. So that might be a guy to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
What about Miranda Maverick? I feel like she's got somewhat of a name. Hasn't really broken out though in that flyweight division.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like I said, I was talking about Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis, that's your boy Sean Strickland's friend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like he just got a knockout not too long ago. Curious to see.
Chris Curtis.
Yeah, Chris Curtis.
Yeah, that was that Joaquin Buckley one.
He knocked Joaquin Buckley out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually wasn't that a war? I think that was
I think I know that because I think did we?
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about that fight, but I remember discussing.
No, the Kevin Gastelum was a war, but I know Joaquin Buckley did fight before Curtis's last fight with Gastelum. So
yeah,
for sure.
It's the spotlight of the prelim fights. It's the last one to go on. So, I mean, this is time to showcase. It's going to be on ESPN, which brings us to the main card. I feel like Jay needs to be pronouncing these names because they're in Canada. It's a lot of Canadians on this card.
What are they all French? Fuck.
Yeah. The first fight, we got Marc-Andre Barrios versus Eric, your boy, Anders. And like we always do, we're going to keep track of these main event results. So, Marc-Andre, his record isn't terrible, but he doesn't have that much of a name. He's 15-6.
And he's coming in as the favorite.
Yeah, he's coming in as the favorite. He's minus 145. He grew up training MMA, so he's not like one of those guys that's a specialist.
I'm still going to take. I'm taking Eric Anders. I'm taking Anders still.
You're taking Anders.
Just because, well, it's hard to go off that since I haven't seen the other dude fight or remember it. But Eric Anders has showed athleticism, even though you can tell his movements aren't rooted to a discipline or even the MMA. You can see him power through with athleticism through a lot of stuff, and it works for him. Plus, I've always give Eric Anders credit after he went up on short notice to fight light heavyweight Santos Tiago, damn. Light heavyweight messed his knee up with
Yeah.
John Jones.
That's
You know what I'm
Santos,
talking about?
Thiago Santos.
Yeah, Tiago Santos. And went up short notice, and out of one of those rounds, he couldn't even get up. Probably because they're trying to cut that weight. But he comes to show up. Plus, he took a beating to I don't know why I'm forgetting names. Suddenly went to Muay Thai.
Oh,
Throwing leg kicks out the
I know who you're
Kyle,
talking. Roundtree,
Kyle
Terrell
Dawkins?
Roundtree.
Roundtree. Yeah, he took a beating that one and stayed in there. So I'll go with him.
So you're going with Anders?
Yeah.
So Eric Anders is one of those dudes that proves that if you're a sensational athlete, it doesn't necessarily translate to MMA, because he was a linebacker for a national championship team. Was he a linebacker? He's a linebacker or safety. He's on defense for Alabama, Roll Tide. But he's one of those guys that, he'll win one, he'll lose one, not consistent with his performances.
Right.
So with that being said, give me the hometown kid or a home country kid. Give me Marc-Andre Barrios for the win. That moves us to Dan Ige at featherweight versus Nate Landwehr. Who y'all got?
I'm going with Nate Landwehr on this one, and he's also the underdog.
Any
I'll go with
reason?
Nate just because he's on. This isn't the card to where you got two people you can compare because you know their background, right? As far as me as an MMA fan, I know them. I've seen them fight, but because of the hype he's got behind him, and I kind of like his personality, I'll go for Nate Landwehr. Even though we saw Dan Ige come off a win.
Yeah, I think that Nate has the hype coming into it. I think there's a lot of hype around him.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Ige, man. He's one of those stalwarts in featherweight division. He's got that jiu-jitsu and he's a D3 wrestler. He's the favorite in this one. This is probably like one of the, well, no, of course the main event, but besides the main event, this is probably, well, because he's the plus. Yeah, this is probably one of the more uneven bet odds. I'm gonna go against y'all again. Give me Dan Ige for the win. That takes us to welterweight, another Canadian, Mike Malott versus Adam Fugit at welterweight. I'll start off with you, Admire, who you got in this fight.
I'm going with Adam just because his last name looks like fuck it. So I'll take the underdog again. And yeah, I'm not picking any Canadians today.
Ooh, that's a slight dig at you, Jay. No Canadians.
I am not Canadian. I'm Felipe.
The Canadians ain't winning a Stanley Cup and they ain't winning no UFC fights.
Shut the fuck up.
Steve.
I'm going with Mike Malott. He's been on a winning streak so far, and he's been having impressive finishes. He's been finishing. The most significant one I know is Mickey Gall. Although I'm not saying his skill, just as far as somebody that we may know because of Mickey Gall wrestled, that wrestler.
CM Punk.
Hey. Anybody else, if I were to say anybody he fought, probably won't remember or know him, but he's been having impressive finishes as far as guillotines or so I'm gonna have to go with Mike Malott.
Oh, you going with Mike Malott? This is where we meet at crossroads because this is the first time y'all pick differently. So who should I go with? I'm gonna stick with Canada on this one. I'm gonna go with Mike Malott on this one. the minus 205 on this one. And now we finally get into the meat of this card. We got Charles Dubronz Oliveira coming back after his loss against Islam. Coming back to face Beneil Dariush at lightweight. This has big title implications. I'm going to kick it off with you, Admire. Who do you think wins this one?
Beneil Dariush, one of my favorite fighters. I got to go with him all the way. And I think it says something that he's the favorite and he's lower ranked. He's ranked number 4. Oliveira's ranked number 1. Beneil Dariush is just, he's ready. He's ready to fight for the belt. That's what I'm going with.
Dariush, you're going with Dariush, huh?
Yep.
Steve?
I'm going to go with Oliveira. See, with Oliveira, what I figured out in his fights, you got one good shot to either put him away or else you wake him up. Dariush, where he had that Drakkar close fight where he knocked him to the fence. So he does have hand power, definitely has ground game. Nothing to the equivalents to no Islam or close to it. I think he can handle himself. I think Charles may have a better striking advantage. Plus, I think he can handle himself on the ground. Plus, I think he wants to come back after that loss that sort of like what happened to, I don't know why I'm forgetting names today. John Jones in his last fight.
Cyril Gane?
Cyril Gane, you don't want to lose like that. You're going to come back pissed off and show the example that, I didn't want to lose that way and they didn't mean to, and I'm here to prove a point. And I think that's what Charles Oliveira is going to do Saturday night.
Oliveira's record is, man, his wins are insane.
Before he lost
his last wins. Yeah, except for that, he beat Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, Jared Gordon, Nick Lentz, Jim Miller, Clay Guida. I mean, that's just a whole row of badasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna make my pick based on strength of schedule, what Amai was just talking about. Because I mean, Dariush's record is nothing to sneeze at. I don't know if you still got it up, Amai. What kind of crazy win streak is Dariush on? He hasn't lost in a while.
He beat Gamrot, Tony Ferguson, Carlos Feria, Scott Holtman, Drakkar, Drew Dober. I mean, not as many big names, but
bingo. He hasn't. I don't think he's faced. I don't know if Tony Ferguson. I guess Tony Ferguson was probably ranked at the time, but we know how Tony Ferguson is playing out right now.
Yeah,
and that's probably the biggest name that Dariush has beaten. I mean, Drew Dober is a gamer, but he's no world beater.
Yeah.
Gamrot is decent. So I'm going to go with Oliveira just because he's battle tested at this point, and he had a hell of a streak. He just ran into a Dagestani. You know how Dagestanis get down.
Wow.
They can scrap. In this fight, these guys are both great on the ground. They're both very highly ranked in jiu-jitsu. I could see this fight standing up because neither one of them could take the other down, or they just don't want to go down because they're both excellent there. But if it stays on the feet, I'd have to say Oliveira, but I think Dariush is going to get something in.
Bingo. I think because they're both jiu-jitsu guys, I think that cancels each other out. And Charles Oliveira, he's developed a nasty stand-up game. So I think he edges him out in the striking. Hopefully it's a good scrap. Hopefully it's not one-sided. I want to see a war. But give me Oliveira. And that takes us to the main event. Amanda Nunes, the Lioness, versus Irene Aldana, the replacement, kind of a not quite last minute, but she's replacing Juliana Pena, who's supposed to be in this fight, who's supposed to have a rubber match with Pena. I mean, excuse me, Nunes. Who y'all got in this fight?
A couple years ago, I said it. I'll never bet against Amanda Nunes. I mean, she's just a killer. She has taken lumps, but she's still a killer. And I don't want to take anything away from Irene Aldana, but her resume isn't that great. I mean, I think the biggest win in her career was Beth Carrera. She's lost to Holly Holmes. She's lost to Raquel Pennington. She's lost to Leslie Smith. She's lost to most of the gatekeeper top 3 to 8 in her division. Amanda Nunes she's the lioness, man.
I got 2 words: sacrificial lamb. That's who Irene Aldana is. Okay, this is like I said, there's nobody in the caliber anymore unless you want to do some weight crossover. I think she's just gonna destroy her. Quite honestly, I think the only one that can contend with her is Valentina. I didn't forget this one. Valentina Shevchenko. I can't think of anybody significantly in bantamweight, I guess, other than Aldana, who's fighting for the title. Like I said, I think she's just gonna sweep the rug with her.
What about the woman that beat her not too long ago, Pena? You don't think she could possibly beat her again?
I mean, yeah.
It was Juliana Pena, yeah, but she came back and beat her. Nunes fought her right after that and beat her.
I need to see a rubber match.
She sat on a back seat for a while. Probably got a little lazy in training, and she got her ass whooped that day. As far as what Pena did to her, she just straight demolished her the second. Like she took it. Matter of fact, if you compare those two, you can tell that she was out of shape compared to that second fight. She took it seriously versus winning all the time, probably partying. She had an off day that day. I honestly think that. I may be wrong, but I think that.
We'll see, but
what are the odds on that one?
Yeah,
she is a minus 320 favorite. You have to bet $320 on Nunes to win $100. That's how much of a favorite she is. Irene is a plus 265. I mean, you could throw $10 on it and hope to hit $26, just in case. It is a big step up. Like Steve said, she's kind of the sacrificial lamb, but a lot of times that motivates people. And maybe she's got some tricks up her sleeve too. I've chosen the whole right side of the card going down. I'm going to change it. I'm not going Amanda Nunes. I'm going Aldana.
All right. Hey.
And I'm just going to hope for the underdog.
That's how you catch up, because you're dead last in these pick predictions.
Everybody knows, bet opposite of me. Pick the opposite. I watch this shit all the time, and I cannot pick a fight to save my life. No matter how much I try, I bet with my heart and not my head. So this is the one. We're going to change it up. I promised I'd never bet against Nunes, and I'm doing it now.
So, Irene Aldana, her training partner is Alexa Grasso. And we just saw what happened with Grasso facing Valentina Shevchenko. So, Aldana may stun some people, and she may be a live dog in this one. So, if she pulls a rabbit out of her hat, don't be surprised. With that being said, I'm not picking against the lioness. So give me Amanda Nunes. But I think this one may go to distance. Don't be surprised if it goes to the distance. And I think if Nunes wins this, she may go off to the sunset. I mean, what is she fighting for at this point? She's done it
Yeah,
all.
that, and I was just looking at her age. I mean, she's 35. I mean, women's MMA is still pretty newer, so we haven't seen a lot of them retire. But she's getting up there. She's had a lot of fights. She's accomplished so much. I don't see any reason for her to keep fighting. If
Yeah,
she wins, I think she should hang it up.
She swept the promotion.
What I want to know is, what are they doing with her featherweight belt? Like, that division had promise, just because 145, those girls get hit. They got power, but they never really built the division, and she's still a champion. So I wonder what they do with that division.
I kind of think it's a lot of women avoided that division because of her. That's why that division never got built up. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of people that moved up to fight her.
Yeah, I mean, Holly Holm fought for the belt. She defended that belt like 2 or 3 times. She's been spreading it out with her defenses, but they have done nothing. My hope is still that Kayla Harrison comes to the UFC and actually they build a division around it. But, that's just wishful thinking on my behalf. But hopefully something happens with that belt eventually. But yeah, this is all. Hopefully, this is one of these cars that is sneakily good, and they put on some bangers. They're up there for the first time in a while. I think it's the first time since the pandemic that they've been to Canada for a car, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they said there was something significant about this one going back to Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. Felipe, I don't know how far. I think they're in Toronto. What is that, like 2 hours from you?
6 hours.
Oh, that's far. I thought it was a little bit closer.
No.
My bad.
Ouch.
Well, we've come to the end of the car predictions. Anything else before we leave from either one of you?
Nothing for me. I got to go pack my bags. I'm heading to Denver tomorrow.
Ooh, the Rocky State. That should be fun.
Something like that. Going out there for a little birthday party. I'm going to try to meet up with Joey, say what's up.
Joey DeLorme, friend of the show, friend of all our other platforms, 80 proof, boot to the face. Shout out to Joey. That should be interesting.
Yeah, Rucker says I got to get a picture with him because he's like 6'6", and I'm not.
That would definitely be a sight to see. You plan on watching the fights out there, or?
Yeah, I'll be at a birthday party at my cousin's where I don't really know anybody except my cousin. So I'll probably be the guy in the corner watching the fights on his phone.
That's what's up. Yeah. You watching the fights at your place after work, Steve, tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. Even if during work I got to, I usually sometimes do that. Put the phone up to the Bluetooth and during the breaks when I'm not cutting, look and glance or look at exciting moments when I hear it. So yeah, I make sure I don't miss them.
Yeah, well, we'll be back with y'all later on this weekend after results, the basking the afterglow of UFC 289. But until then, y'all be safe out there. We'll catch y'all next time. Later.
Sir.